Hey everyone, so I just finished watching Artemis Fowl, which is the newest Disney Plus original movie. I haven't read the books, which is what these are based off of. So before I get into the review, I will say that I don't know how accurate it is to the books or like if it at all does justice to what the books were all about. But without further ado, let's talk about Artemis Fowl. So this movie is directed by Kenneth Branagh, who in the past brought us a live action remake of Cinderella, and he also directed the first Thor movie. So this movie was originally slated for a theater release. I know it's been delayed like for a long time, but with just basically pushing the movie back for editing purposes, and then because of the pandemic that we're living in right now, they decided to release this movie on Disney Plus, and I think that is the best choice because this is a very amusingly and sometimes painfully awful, terrible movie. It's really bad. So the movie's about a young boy named Artemis Fowl Jr. Colin Farrell plays his father, whose name is Artemis Fowl, and he's basically kidnapped by a dark fairy, and there's a whole bunch of like mystical world of real fairies and trolls that live in that kind of live in secret to the human world. And the fairies are led by Judi Dench, and they're kind of like military fairies. They don't really explain anything that's going on. It's really weird. So much just comes into this movie and blah. But further on with the story, Artemis Fowl realizes that he has to get his father back and clear his name because they think he's been kidnapped due to stealing a bunch of famous paintings that the world has seen. Kind of like, not just paintings. The Rosetta Stone has been stolen, and they think that Artemis Fowl was the one who did it. So he's on a quest to save his father and find an artifact that can give anyone a huge amounts of power, and they're trying to make certain that doesn't fall in the hands of this dark fairy who has taken his father captive. The thing that was really, I wasn't able to get into this movie at all, and it's mainly because the main character, Artemis Fowl Jr., is such a pompous little brat and dick of a kid, and there's nothing interesting or redeeming about him at all. They just shoehorn all these things in that's like, oh, he's better than anyone will ever be in any way. Here you go. I hope you like this character. But there's nothing to him. He's whiny, really bad screaming. Some of the directing doesn't help too, because like these characters, especially Artemis, will deliver their lines and then the camera just kind of stays on their face while they do nothing. And it's really awkward. The directing in this movie is really bad. And one of the things that was really, really bad was the shots were so dark that I couldn't tell what was going on, and then all of a sudden you'd see like this little fairy green like light just go across the screen, but you couldn't tell anything that was going on because of how dark it was. It was almost like White House Down, I think, or Olympus Has Fallen with Gerard Butler. Sometimes it was so dark that you could barely tell what was going on. Like it was like walking around at midnight with no street lights. It was really tough to see that and try and somewhat relate to what's going on when you can't see anything. The thing too is like it doesn't really have a story that expands on anything. It's just kind of, okay, we're on to the next thing, we're on to the next thing, we're on to the next world, we're on to the next like little quest, we're on to the next thing they have to capture without explaining why anything was even relevant or important to the characters. Nothing grows them either in the movie. And then it doesn't help too that it's narrated by Josh Gad, who the only way I can really describe this is that he's doing his best impersonation of like a gritty take on Jack Black's voice. And like I said, he's just all the time in your face telling you why Artemis is why he's so brilliant and why you should like him just because of how brilliant he is and how he's kind of like a doesn't listen to anyone type attitude. But it's just annoying and he comes off as a dick, and like I said, there's just nothing interesting about any of these characters. Same thing too with the directing. Action is so cutty where just everything cuts. There's weird slow-mo effects. There's times where Artemis is shooting this weird fairy plasma gun and then they pan the camera around and the shots that they just fired you don't see land or hit or like in the distance at all. It was a mess. But yes, this movie is only, I think, just 95 minutes, like just a little over an hour and a half, but it felt like such a long movie because you're just waiting for them to explain something or like give a purpose to the movie, but that never happens at all. It's just very long and dragged out the entire film. Like, honestly, this didn't even really feel like a movie to me because of just how messy and unprepared it felt. I haven't seen all of like the Disney movies, and I'm saying like animated and live action when I say this. This has to be one of the worst Disney movies ever made. I think honestly I preferred Bloodshots to this movie, and it's why I'm gonna give Artemis Fowl a 2 out of 10. This was really painful to watch, and it's gonna be a contender for the worst movie that I've seen this year when I do that list at the end of the year. But yes, if you've seen Artemis Fowl, let me know, guys, know what you thought about it. If you're someone who read the books, please tell me that it's nothing like this, and let me know your thoughts on this adaptation and if you think they should continue. I doubt they will, but if they should continue making these movies, making these books into movies the way that they did. But as always, you can check out all my other movie reviews through my playlist below, and leave a like, subscribe, comment if you like what you see here. But awesome, guys.